Değerli konuklarımız, evet yeni oturuma başlıyoruz. Ön taraf biraz sakinleştiğinde.
Now, as soon as the crowd disintegrates, we will start. The next session will be titled Regional Base and Global Power. This is sponsored by Global Harbor Administration. CEO Saygın Naren is going to be delivering the opening speech on their behalf.
Merhabalar, hepiniz.
Hi and greetings. Global Harbor Administration started administering 3 harbors in Antalya, Bodrum and Kuşadası in 2013. Today, we have some of the biggest harbors of Europe, like Lisbon, Malaga, Barcelona, Montenegro, and also participation in Singapore cruise harbor. We have a share of 25% in that harbor too. I am proud to say that the 4.2 million passengers visiting our harbors are entertained in the best way possible in our harbors, and we are, with this number, the biggest cruise operator in the world. If I have to tell you an anecdote, 3 years ago we were trying to get shares of Barcelona Harbor, and we had an appointment with Barcelona Harbor administration. We met with them and they asked us if we could manage that harbor. That was the first meeting. A while ago we returned with a vision, and that wasn't successful too. We had to make a total of 4 meetings, and a period of 5 months we had to gather permits from the Board of Competition and other national bodies. And also 8 months ago, Dubrovnik harbor was being offered for sale with its share. The Croatian government invited us to take part in this bid because they had heard about us, but we were not as big a company as other participants in the tender. Well, we now have a lot of valuable speakers in this panel, so after informing you about our company, I would also like to underline that this panel is going to be useful for us too. We will be delighted to listen. Thank you, Global Harbor Administration. As I mentioned, the title of this session is Regional Base and Global Power. Ahmet Erdem from YASED, Adnan Nas from Global Investment Holding, Tankut Turnaoğlu from PNG Turkey, Levent Çakıroğlu from Koç Holding, and Moderator Engin Aksoy from Vodafone Turkey. Alright, valuable guests, welcome to this next session about global power and regional base. This is actually an important point about all representatives because the axis of the world is shifting from the west to the east and our geographical region is becoming more and more important. This presents us with opportunities on corporate level. Another point we are going to discuss is becoming a global power. We have been saying that corporations in Turkey are not competing only with local companies but also with multinational foreign companies. Even if you may be operating in the local market, you will still be competing with foreign companies. These are going to be the 2 points we will discuss with our panelists. Mr. Ahmet is the chairman of the board of directors of YASED. Mr. Tankut is also the vice director of YASED and is a member of PNG Turkey. Adnan is also experienced in both the public and private sectors. Mr. Levent is also going to be attending as the vice chair of the board of directors of Koç Holding, which comprises 12% of Turkish exports. Let's start with Mr. Ahmet. From the investors' perspective, foreign investors actually, what is the appearance of Turkey? How do they see it? Thank you and hi. Well, we are standing in between your lunch, so we are trying to make it enjoyable for you. I will start with talking about YASED. YASED is an association, an umbrella corporation which has been operating in Turkey for a period of 35 years in order to increase efficiency of investments and increasing investment attractiveness of Turkey. The discussion topic is quite important for us because Turkey's attractiveness for international investments is growing, but globally we have a foreign investment rate of 1%. But if you take a look at last year, and you will see that there was an 8% decrease in all over foreign investment around the world, and the decrease was actually 2% in Turkey. From that you can infer that the geopolitical problems going on around us were not so influential on our investments. The loss was about $12.1 billion due to that 2% loss. Another perceptible change is that as part of this amount, real estate purchases have been increasing in terms of ratio. In previous years, the ratio was about 25% and now it is around 36%. This is a good development that real estate share is expanding, but on the other hand, we need investments with added value, such as on the manufacturing side. From that point of view, this 1% that I mentioned in the beginning is not sufficient for us to rank among the top 10 economies. Of course, within this context, our country's potential is growing due to latest reforms, our geopolitical location, transportation facilities, and so on. Our internal market is expanding and our growth rate is quite big. So we can achieve that goal, but there are measures to be taken and steps to be planned ahead of time. We may talk about this even further, but as for the topic of our session, we believe that investment attraction depends on other issues like research and development. It comes with high leverage for your economy. But if you want to become a regional hub too, there are specific points we are standing out. It may be governance, manufacturing, or infrastructural investments, or it may be logistics. Some other industries may be thought of. So, as YASED, we issued a report recently. I think you will be finding copies of it outside. As you can see in it, specific industries were looked into in terms of their activities in order to find out areas of improvement and find ways of competing with competitor countries. Maybe we may also get into details of that later. Thank you, Mr. Ahmet. You touched the importance of manufacturing and Turkey's potential as a regional power. So, Mr. Adnan, you know we have a vision of making Istanbul a financial center. What do you think is the situation at the moment? That is a little bit detailed as a question, but if you ask, let me go into the details. To begin with, we like to come up with conclusions really fast. We claim that Turkey is becoming a global financial center, but this may be a little bit unrealistic as an issue. Readers of newspapers and journals may think it is easy, but it is not. You can't be a global finance center, but a regional one, yes, that is possible, although you need some actions ahead of time. For about 30 years I have been researching and working on the topic of foreign capital, for example, and it is an essential part of becoming a financial center, and I think we are perceiving it a little bit wrongly. We have 400 publicly listed companies in Turkey, and a big number of them are actually not fully open to the public. Their majority shares are kept due to the legal regulations. Secondly, there is also a shallowness in terms of investors. We don't still have enough of them. Most of our capital market depends on the entries and exits of foreign players. We need local players here too. Well, of course, we would like liquidity to be high if we are a foreign investor too. And if you are a foreign investor, you would like to make a clean exit if that is needed. But Turkey's appearance is not attractive in terms of that. Things can be done like diversifying financial instruments and building upon the financial bodies in Turkey. Maturity markets are also lacking here too. We are performing very well only in the area of real estate, but that is not sufficient. Another thing is necessary, which is qualified workforce and judicial reliability. These may be seeming irrelevant at first look, but they are all tied to being a financial center. Even the social ecosystem in your country matters. Istanbul is a nice city, everyone wants to live there, but even that nice city comes with problems like traffic. So you may want to consider establishing such a center next to an airport. Even that is a question in your mind. I mean, before thinking of details like this, we want to be optimist as soon as possible and speak with big words, but that can only end in disappointment. I believe there is a more realistic strategy, although I am not a finance expert. We may focus on some specific commodities or securities like gold or commodities. Maybe a finance center with a specific area of activity like that would work. As you know, construction is the most competitive industry of Turkey, and we are successful in overseas too. My colleague Mr. Nihat is here, and there are some construction geniuses involved in the industry too. To finance such projects, Turkey is a right destination. Back in the day, when I talked to my colleagues with international banks, they told me that between London and the Middle East there was no such environment readily present for a financial center. A specific one, however, may be one focused, concentrated on construction. I think as we have the competitive upper hand in that, we could base the idea, base the opinion in this specific industry. But we shouldn't be demoralized. However, there are two indexes that are relevant. That is Financial Development Index and Financial Centers Index. Turkey does not rank very well in that. The Financial Development Index takes into consideration banking services, financial markets, and similar factors, as well as financial stability. You see Korea, China, Saudi Arabia, and Russia far ahead of us in this index. And the Financial Centers Index, you have factors like market access. And among 83 centers, we rank 47th. This means we have potential, but our current stance is not fine. It is a given fact that the potential is there due to our geographical location, due to Istanbul's location between two continents. But we need to objectively approach the issue, increase liquidity, number of available instruments, and then we can be able to compete with Moscow, for example, not with London maybe, but with Moscow. You have to be realistic, even about who you will compete with. Let us go on with Mr. Tankut. Industrial and regional incentives are important. What do you think about that? What are our industrial and regional priorities? Thank you, dear moderator. I will have a macro perspective here. I am representing PNG Turkey, but I am also the vice chairman of the board of directors of the Investors Association YASED. This is my 24th year in PNG, and I have worked in Brussels, Geneva, and other different headquarters of PNG. When I started in Turkey, I realized that Turkey needs a big leap in exports and employment rates in order to meet the goals set for 2023. In that sense, a regional hub as an attribute may benefit Turkey greatly. I am also a member of the Regional Hub Commission in YASED, and I also worked in the report mentioned by Mr. Ahmet. While issuing that report, we made a comparative analysis. If you are realistic, you would want to see your stance against Singapore, Vienna, Dubai, and then also you would like to measure your success possibilities in various industries. A roadmap matters too, because as Mr. Adnan underlined, without turning potential energy into kinetic energy, words will be floating around and you will have no conclusions. In four primary groups, we need to make improvements. First of all, we require political competence improvements. This involves regional sustainability, judicial reliability, and secondly, we have economic reliability. Includes facility of doing business, taxation, environment, and so on. You are in constant competition. Although the market is great in Turkey, this cannot directly make you a financial hub. Within the company, our competition is quite great, and these economic facilities are well sought remedies, especially when you are a European company. So this economical environment is really important. Third area of improvement is social environment. Mr. Babajan talked about 25 reform priorities yesterday, and one of them was about making Turkey a center of attraction for qualified workforces. If you want to do that, you need a lot of basic improvements, starting from traffic to accommodation. You need to have schools for expats children, for example. The fourth improvement area is human capital. Of course, Turkey has high manpower quality. That is correct. We have over 90 managers, for example, from PG abroad. They are Turkish managers, but you cannot be confined to white collars. You need to have qualified blue collar workers and employees too. Firms and groups like Koç Holding may have examples too, but we need vocational schools for blue collar employees too. This is an opportunity awaiting us. Maybe within this framework, I have already answered some questions. I will stop here.
Tankut.
Let's continue with Mr. Çakıroğlu. We already discussed about what kind of criteria should be set forth in order to attract the investors. But on behalf of Koç Holding, you are operating in different markets. Maybe by listening to some of the specific examples from you, we can understand your success. For example, Beko has a success story. If we can hear about it, we would be glad. Thank you very much. If you give me the permission, I would like to evaluate this situation on the macroeconomic level. Why are we penetrating to the foreign markets? Why are we trying to expand our global network? There are a couple of reasons for that. And the main reason is the opportunities in those markets. Turkey is a very big company and Turkey is developing. And demographically speaking, Turkey has a young and big labor force. But of course, apart from Turkey, there is a huge geography that we can explore and in which we can be successful. Including the economic crisis periods, the countries are showing different attitudes, but of course, in a general sense, the global economy is developing and is growing. And the focal center of the global economy is shifting to the eastern part of the world. Specifically speaking, in some of the sectors, the penetration of the products to the household is still low. Therefore, we have opportunities for business. How our success story started. Since you asked me the Arçelik example, I would like to give an example from that brand, and it will be much more easier for me to come up with a conclusion statement. Starting from 2001 economic crisis in Turkey, we decided to open to the foreign markets because the market and the demand was contracting at those times in Turkey. And in order to increase our profits from sales, we believed that we should open ourselves to the foreign markets. And then we evaluated the European, Northern Africa and the Middle East markets, and an export decision has been taken. In the second step, we have encountered with the 2008 crisis, and this 2008 crisis is actually the starting point for us to create a vision for Turkey to open itself to the foreign markets. The global crisis showed us that the European economy, which was, by the way, our main market, was started to be contracting. In some of the member countries of the European Union, the demands was contracting. And as a result of that, we thought that we should provide a variation in our markets. And I'm speaking about Southeast Asia and the African continent. These are the opportunities for us. But if those markets didn't have the potential, it would not be possible for us to go to those places, even with thanks to the global crisis. If I'm going to give you a specific factor, a specific reason for going to those places. First, we were in need of opening ourselves to the foreign markets, but at the same time, you should conduct some activities in order to introduce and launch yourself to the foreign markets. First of all, you should have a sound market base in the country which you are born in. Your successful business model in your original country will be important for the technological know-how and the financial accumulation. Financial accumulation is important because your investment in the foreign countries should be decided on the long term because of their nature. And these investments in the foreign countries require patience. And in order to support your investment in the foreign countries, you have to generate resources in your original country of operation. Human resource is the other important factor for your success. Your human resource should have the capacity of working in different culture, and your human resource should understand the other markets, but without losing your patience, and by doing your homeworks with the right business model, you should open yourselves to the foreign markets. That's what I believe.
merkez olmak diyoruz. Peki bölgesel merkez olduğumuzda ülkemiz bunun
We are speaking about a regional base, but if we become a regional base, what kind of a benefit can we have? As it was already mentioned by Mr. Çakıroğlu, there are some Turkish companies which are actually managing their operations from Turkey and penetrating into the foreign markets. Of course, there are some similarities. First of all, providing the employment will have a positive effect on the trade, and it depends on the sector in which you are investing, but as far as the Turkey becomes a regional base, we will see the positive impacts of it. And when it comes to the international direct investment, I can give you a couple of figures between 2004 and 2013, the foreign direct investments contributed to the GNP of the Turkey by $85 billion. And the local, the same investments which have been done during those years has contributed to the employment of approximately 2 million people. If we can increase the appeal of Turkey, those figures can increase times more. Every $1 billion of investment in the R&D sector will have a return on investment by $8.3 billion. And there are certain facts which are supporting those issues. So there is a huge leveraging effect. And these are the sectors from which we can have the utmost benefit. But of course, there is another side of the medallion. If we cannot become a regional hub for the economy, then we will lose a lot of things. For example, we are producing mineral oils which are used in the cars and in different vehicles. And the producers of the mineral oils were quite efficient in the past. And right now, the mineral oil producers are gathering together, are accumulating together in certain parts. We were quite successful in terms of the production of mineral oils. Turkey became a regional hub for that, and we are exporting mineral oil to the other countries. But if the mineral oil was started to be produced for the first time in another country, then we would be losing a lot of money. Of course, if we can become a regional hub for the economy, there are going to be positive effects. But if you can't, then you will have many negative effects that you would not like to encounter with. In order to wrap up, the SMEs will be supporting this regional hub concept, and the standard and the quality of the SMEs are improving day by day. So these advanced SMEs are starting to involve in the international trade. The SMEs which are producing only for the local market are today exporting their products to the Southeast Asia and the different parts of the world. We should not forget all of those. You said that there is going to be a leveraging effect of Turkey becoming a regional hub. This is right. I asked a question about the financial indexes and the ranking of Turkey with regards to the financial index. And Mr. Adnan said that we are not in a very good position about this because we are behind the Korea, Taiwan, and the Russia. So why do you think Turkey is not ahead of the countries like Taiwan and the Korea in terms of the globalization? Actually, I have a lot of things to say, but I believe that there is going to be a third round for my...
önemli olduğunun altını çizmek istediğim
Tabii, en
noktalar var.
son
So there are a couple of things that I would like to underline here. Why are we actually behind the other countries? The concrete questions are actually much more valuable because when the abstract questions are asked, we actually say a lot of things which doesn't mean anything. Let me give you an example. Before 2001 crisis, in Prague, there was an IMF meeting. I attended to that IMF meeting, and we were together with an expert, and that expert listened to our speeches, and he told me that, okay, your academicians, your businessmen are speaking so much, but one important thing has not been mentioned. I mean, your FTI level is such funny has such funny figures. Why nobody is focusing on the FTI? At those years, the FTI was never discussed with such great importance. We should first of all criticize ourselves. We lack the analytical criticism. When the World Bank comes here, they recommended us to establish YO2, and we established it. I mean, it is of course directly correlated with our education system, but we are raised with a descriptive mentality. But in terms of analytical, I mean the critical analysis, we lack that skill. For 30 years, Turkey attracted 30 billion dollars. I'm sorry, $5 billion of FDI. And after the negotiation process with the European Union, those FDIs increased up to $22 billion. Let's evaluate Singapore as an example. Singapore is quite similar with Holland and Ireland, but Singapore was such a actually poor country at the beginning of 1960s, and Singapore would like to become actually a province of Malaysia. In 1970s, they conducted a strategic analysis and they found out that they lack natural resources. If we cannot make money out of natural resources, then we have to apply to another thing. By the way, the rich countries are not actually rich because of their natural resources. All of the success stories are coming from the states which are not rich in terms of natural resources, but those countries are investing hugely to the human resources, and this is the most actually striking problem that we have, the human resource. Because if you develop human resource, the technology is developing, the R&D is developing. They are directly correlated with each other. Singapore actually saw it and they started to invest it very much. This qualified employees increased the factory efficiency and they created an added value. They started investing in the human resources in 1970s, and in a short term, they increased their income per capita to 30,000 US dollars. As you all know, Turkey is still struggling with the income per capita of 10,000 US dollars. Of course, we should prioritize our targets and we should take a strategic decision about our economy. I believe this is the fourth problem that we have in Turkey. We couldn't raise the qualified person in Turkey, and I don't believe that we are underlining the importance of this issue. We are just speaking on the rhetorical basis. How can we raise the qualified person? In order to do this, the scientific independence and all universities actually should be independent. If the universities are not independent, then you cannot raise the qualified person, and the university and industry collaboration is required, but the autonomy of the universities are really required. When we are speaking about the education, we are seeing the education as providing the technical qualification to the person. But education is not all about providing technical qualifications, but we should also encourage the creativity. The education leap, what I'm going to say, should encourage the creativity, because if you do not have the know-how and the technology, then you will only be as a contracting country which is actually doing the business of others. And the Turkish economy, unfortunately, has such a subcontracting identity. Even in the construction sector, with which we are proud of, unfortunately are not doing the added value projects. The foreigners are doing the added value projects. And recently, our governments recognize this situation, and this issue has been discussed on the level of the Undersecretariat. But unfortunately, in terms of innovation and creativity, we are always behind of the Western world. When it comes to the R&D, we can increase the expenditures which are allocated to the R&D to 1%, but United States are allocating 3% of their expenditures to the R&D. I mean, this gap is not closing, this gap is even widening. Taiwan is allocating over 3% to the R&D. Korea in 1990s were allocating 9% to the R&D. Right now they are allocating 3% to the R&D. For example, when the budget which is allocated from 0.005 to 0.009, we thought it to be a success story, but this is not a success story, so we have to have a leap in that. So in order to answer that question, I believe the R&D investment was the answer. Let me say you one thing about the Korea. The information economy in Korea from 1970s to 2000s increased from 4% to 25%. On the contrary, this figure decreased in Turkey. In Korea, the number of annual patents are 3,000. What about Turkey? It is 20. I have many things to say, but I know we have time limits. Actually, all of our panelists underlined the importance of the human resource, and they spoke about the importance that we should give to the human resource if we want to be a regional hub. In order to satisfy the necessities of the expats, what should we do? The public side should see the general picture, and when they are evaluating the holistic picture, the first infrastructural investment should be made to the education. The Singapore example was given, and I worked in the Singapore for a while. When I applied for the work permit in the Singapore, before asking my name or surname, they asked me to which primary school I went, to which secondary school I went, and they asked me about my grades. So they are evaluating whether they are hiring the qualified personnel or not. So the Singapore actually solved out these educational problems. One of the requirements for becoming a regional hub is the expats, but the people who are working in a regional hub should have at least 2 languages. The Singapore separated from Malaysia, and they were crying because the Singapore was thought to be the hinterland of the Malaysia, so they were actually crying when they are actually separating from Malaysia. And they know that 90% of the population was Chinese, but they thought that our actually mother tongue should be English. And all of the Singapore children are learning English from the nursery, from the kindergarten. So this is also an opportunity for the Turkish people. So it is a good opportunity because in places like Singapore, you can see such foreign chains like Montessori and etc. And if we can capitalize on that opportunity, then we can penetrate into those markets, and it will be very beneficial for us. SPNG, On G20, we are also contributing to the employment through those education. We are raising actually people for the upcoming 25 years. We should first of all teach people how to learn. But unfortunately, our education system is full of information and this oppresses the creativity. But on PNG, we are teaching people how to learn and we are trying to raise the leaders on the global level. And this is why we have been enlisted as the #1 company in terms of the personal gratification on Capital magazine. So if we want to raise qualified person, we should start raising them in the age of 2. I don't believe we have time left, but lastly, I would like to say one more thing. This regional base has been discussed in different platforms because we are in need of an holistic public policy and we understand that the public authorities are seeing this more seriously, but of course we have a tough road to cover. But don't think that if we cannot become the regional base, no one else can be. If we can't be the regional base, if another country neighboring us can be the regional base, then we will lose a lot of money. I will pass the microphone to you later on. I would like to pass the microphone to Levent Çakıroğlu. We gave many examples and we spoke about the success stories of the companies which are working on the global market. Based on your experiences, what kind of challenges those companies who are investing in the foreign markets have?
Before answering this directly, I have a point to make about being a regional hub. Primarily, I am talking about investments flowing out of Turkey because we have a heavy manufacturing industry in Turkey. For example, white goods are being manufactured in Turkey with good quality. Manufacturers of foreign brands have been arriving in Turkey too, and as a result, in 2011, Turkey became one of the biggest white goods manufacturer of Turkey. And for a very long time, that position belonged to Italy. There is a dual relation here. In order to attract investments, you need a strong ecosystem in itself. Other speakers have already said this can be established through various means, from technology to qualified workforce. We have a lot of needs. To answer your questions directly, I don't want to say that we have been meeting a lot of tough challenges because that is not the case. I believe the most important factor is that management teams of company staff are finding it difficult to develop a vision for opening up abroad. If they can do it, then they can encourage their investors and shareholders. They can do the convincing part. Secondly, each decision to be taken should be backed up a meticulous process of inquiries. And current foreign investors have to be successful so that you have a good image. Only if that investment turns into a business success, then you will be able to procure resources and support outside in your next investments. Each country has its own dynamics, you know. When you go to a specific country, you may be greeted with a red carpet if you are an investor. In China, that is the case, for example, but in some countries, even bureaucracy is really tough, and even taking permissions, obtaining relevant authorizations takes a lot of time. So if the market attractiveness is really high, you will be patient, you will continue the process, do your corporate managing, and enter the market. And the primary challenge is to find the correct local partners, find the people who will aid you, and also pick them correctly, not just jump on the first partner that may be a prospective candidate. So if you are selling products, getting in the stream requires you to make a lot of efforts. First, lay out on the table what characteristics of yours are going to differentiate you in that new market you are entering. Additionally, maybe you may lack brand recognition in that market. So go ahead and increase your brand awareness and make your brand a preferable brand. But on top of those, you will be requiring an authentic technology, your own technology that drives your own business model. And your own business model in return has to fuel your intrinsic technology. That has to be coupled with competitive design capabilities and quality. Any product that you manufacture should adhere to high quality standards. Brand management comes into play here. A sustainable business model with added value requires you to operate in international markets with your own brands. Finally, I want to make emphasis on innovation. I have been talking about it on different platforms. Talking about innovations, you will usually think about products and new methods, techniques, right? But to do that, you require innovative ideas. However, the idea of innovation should not be limited to products only. Your entire processes should be equipped with innovative approaches. It may be cost innovation, design innovation, packaging innovation, or even logistics innovation. All in all, in the end, what you are striving to do is to take a new step that boosts your confidence and competitiveness. And once you can also integrate those into your product, then you can have a productive upper hand. I did not go into details. All I want to say is that our brand Beko is now the second biggest white goods seller of Turkey, and it is one of the companies of Turkey which has boosted its market share in Europe the most within the last 5 years or so. Thank you. In brief, you say we have globally successful companies, we have to learn from them. We are running out of time. I will allow 1 minute for each and every one of you. Mr. Ahmet, what are your recommendations about the investment ecosystem in Turkey? I'll keep it very brief. We are running out of time. Because you can talk about this for hours and hours, but as Mr. Adnan said it, you have to realize the potential and turn it into kinetic energy. To wrap up with a few points, first of all, governance and legislative regulations adhering to international standards are required. This is a priority for international capital and investors. In this we have research and development too. This also requires Turkey to address issues present in industrial and intellectual property rights. We also talked about another principal point, which is qualified workforce, which is globally acceptable. This is a must for foreign investors too. And also we need an incentive and taxation system that is competitive, because it is a matter of competition if you want to attract foreign investors. These are determining factors. What matters is to have a simplified, facilitated, transparent and effective system in which investors can thrive and do not stumble upon obstacles. Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Adnan? Or recommendations for globalizing companies? We are four people. The time is a little too short for us, but I will do my best to keep it very brief. So that it sticks in your minds, I will mention a few points only. Countries like Korea were mentioned for their investment competitiveness. Samsung, for example, started in Korea as a construction firm. But take a look at our firms. We have a lot of construction firms, big scale. Are they going to evolve into industrial giants like this in a different area like technology? Maybe we should ponder on that. Another footnote. Real estate purchases are heavily taxed in Korea. I mean, construction is utilized as a growth instrument and then it's abolished. They transition to other industries. Also for Turkey, bright students in Turkey do not ever study fundamental sciences. So who are going to work in our research and development centers? Usually these centers employ favored people who are introduced to others as research and development experts. I mean, we need bright people in research and development. Korea, Taiwan, Singapore did it. They aligned their educational policies parallel to research and development. They offered scholarships so that people are encouraged to study these fundamental sciences. Usually our incentives are generalized. Even for foreign investment, the incentives we offer are superficial. We want to have one size fits for all solutions, but that can't be realized. So, Mr. Tankut, anything to add? In order to come up with a more specific action plan, I believe our discussions may be enlightening for the public sector. YASED already has programs, but PNG has been making more than $600 million of investment in Turkey for a period of 20 years. And as a consumer myself, not only a company member, I view this investment from outside and see that we still need investments from the public side in order to make better investments, and so will foreign investors. They are looking for better incentives. What about you, Mr. Levent? You talked about Koç Holdings opening up abroad, and you are also an important holding for attracting investments to Turkey and turning it a regional hub. If you allow me, I will wrap up our foreign activity first. In the first round, I stopped briefly and wanted to emphasize on the fact that in global and international markets, one of the competencies you need to have is to manage differences. Needs are different, diversified, and customers, clients are diversified too. So you have to customize your own services and products. On the other hand, your employees come from different cultural and educational backgrounds. And if you have to gather them together around a global vision, that will require you to have strong leadership. Based on the Beko and Arçelik examples, we have 15 plants in 5 different countries, and this number is going to increase to 6 as we are going to open a plant in Taiwan too. You may appreciate the fact that there are different cultures in all of these 6 different nations, and because of that we realize that the most important realization is about different cultural backgrounds and needs. For example, we purchased BFI in South Africa at the end of 2011, and we realized that the entire management group comprised of white people, but the employees were black people, that there was an inequality of representation in the management side. However, 99% of our customers were black as well. Actually, there is a historical error that is being made there, but even then we looked back at ourselves, even we ourselves had a little bit of reluctancy in terms of adding a black member in our management group. But we worked it out and allocated 2 senior managers from the other portion of the population. We have now 2 senior black managers. Another nice example was in Australia. It was a new market for us and offers a lot of potential like South Asia and Africa. It is a small continent but has and maintains a developed market and citizens with high income and purchasing power. As it is a remote continent, people stay away from it. But within 2 years, we found correct partners for ourselves and promoted our brand. Another point I'm going to stress is that it is not a convenient way of acting to rely on your successful local business model and thinking that it is going to work in other countries too. This is a deceptive error. Each country has its own dynamics. I have already said, but I will repeat. You have to find out about channel structures and dynamics of each country you are opening up to, basing your investment decisions on them. Finally, I am going to answer your final question. As you know, in Turkey, for years we have been establishing partnerships with global firms like UniCredit, Ford, and King and Fisher. Historically speaking, those partnerships used to be aimed at developing the Turkish market, but now those partnerships have gained such an upper hand and advantage in the engineering knowledge they have gathered that they are manufacturing and developing automobiles being sold to different parts of the world. Now we are manufacturing for global scale. In both of our partnerships, a big portion of the manufactured goods are sent to export markets, including the USA. Another nice example is about the engineering side. I am mentioning this to give you hope. Ford developed new truck brands and truck engines. We licensed their intellectual property rights. And thanks to this license, we are gathering a big portion of income from Latin America and China. I generally agree with all of other panelists, but I want to emphasize that we have to keep our hopes high. One last addition, research and development is quite important. Industry and university collaboration should step up and don't confine yourselves to Turkey only. Universities from all around the world can collaborate with us. Of course, keep your collaboration with local universities at maximum, ensure industrial input, and employ university students to equip them with experience. However, have a global outlook and seek research and development opportunities abroad too. Thank you. If I have to wrap up myself, we are hopeful about the future. We believe in influx of foreign investments into Turkey, but we have to prioritize. We have to find out where investments should take place, in what industries. We cannot become a regional hub with all industries. We have to set correct targets. Maybe we can become a regional power for some industries and a global one for others. And to do that, we need to adhere to global standards in employment, in social environment, education, and taxation. I want to underline education here. Qualified people will carry us over to foreign markets and they will attract foreign investors to Turkey. And understanding differences also is a point corporations should stress so that we can further increase the amount of capital, which is currently around $1,900,000,000 to a higher amount. Technology has been a primary point of discussion in other panels. Digitalizing our country and our corporations and boosting our competitive power is quite important too. I am hoping that Uludağ Economist Summit has already made a great contribution by making these discussions. I couldn't talk about attracting foreign investors. Usually in the past, there was no investment from scratch when foreigners started investing. They usually overtook readily made corporations and facilities. This is also something to ponder on. There is a global competition index, as you know, but although we are doing fine in that, we are doing badly in technological adaptation and education in this index. Thank you for listening. This concludes our panel.
Teşekkür ediyoruz panelistlerimize.
Thank you, panelists and moderator. Dear guests, we are going to go on with lunch. We are going to be back at 10 past 2 o'clock. The host of this lunch is going to